Hello, Dolphins. It's chapel time, and we're going to be reading about Good Friday. Good Friday. People didn't understand that Jesus was God's perfect Son, sent to earth to save them from their sins. The leaders brought him to the Roman governor who put Jesus on trial. Many people were against him. "Crucify him," the crowd shouted. "Kill him, nail his hands and feet to a big wooden cross." Jesus didn't deserve this. He had spent his time on earth loving and caring about people, helping them to know about his Father in heaven, and telling them the right way to live so they could one day join him there. Dying on a cross like a criminal was a sad but very important part of God's plan, and Jesus would do it. He wasn't a criminal, but he would die like one. The soldiers built a heavy wooden cross and nailed a sign to it that said, "Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews." Then they marched Jesus through the streets. They made him go up a hill to a place called the Skull, and then they nailed Jesus to the cross. They also crucified two criminals with him, one on his right and one on his left. It was so painful, but Jesus still prayed, "Father, forgive these people. They don't understand." "Why don't you save yourself?" someone laughed. And of course, Jesus could have saved himself if he wanted to. A crew of angels would have rushed down from heaven to rescue him if he had asked. But instead, Jesus chose to stay there on the cross and die to save all those who believed in him. No one could ever love as much as Jesus. Then it happened. God poured all his people's sin in the past, now, and forever into Jesus' heart. "Father," Jesus cried, "don't leave me." But God had turned away from all the sin, and Jesus felt all the dirt of sin and all the anger of his Father that came with it. But it wasn't his sin, it was ours. Jesus felt it and suffered for it so that we wouldn't have to. Right then, at that very minute, the world changed forever. Now God's people had hope. By asking God's forgiveness for their sins and believing in what Jesus had done for them, their hearts could be made clean, and they could live in God's perfect heaven forever. At noon, an eerie dark cloud filled the sky and hid the sun. Powerful lightning and thunder jerked across the sky. God's mighty anger at sin came down, and the earth shook furiously. Huge rocks shattered and split. The sky swirled with dark, scary colors. "Father, I give you my life," Jesus said. Then he looked up towards heaven and cried out, "It is finished," and he died. And it was finished. Jesus had done it. He had taken on himself God the Father's anger and the punishment that was meant for his children to save us from our sin. That is our Bible story for today. Bye, Dolphins.